There's something comforting about familiar experiences, like your mom's shepherd's pie, like getting a haircut from the barber you've had for over 20 years, like rewatching a movie you've seen a million times, like getting thrown out of the bulk food store because you snuck some of the fancy candies in with your bag of the cheap stuff again. It's like, as good as the new experiences are, sometimes you just want the same old, by which I obviously mean, please rewatch your favorite TechDweeb videos after you're done watching this one. I play lots of games in lots of ways. That's kind of my thing, to test how different games look and work and feel on the new doodads that enter my life before being relegated to the shelf of neglect. But so very often when I'm hunting through my game library, looking for stuff to play, I'll fall back to my old habits and fire up the same games I played last week, which are the same games I played the week before, and the month before that, and the year before that, all the way back to when I was a little dweeb playing my uncle's copy of Dragon Warrior when I stayed over at his house in the summer. That's the idea here today. I'm going to give you a list of the 10 games that I keep going back to again and again and again. The games I'll probably be firing up on my retro doodads like 40 years from now, when I'm a brain floating in a jar. But before I get started, pretty please, I'd love to hear your list. What are your top 10 retro games that you keep coming back to over and over? I'm super curious to know what kind of games other people are going to pick for this kind of thing. So just, leave your list in the comments. Also, real quick, because I know I'm going to be asked, the handheld that I'm using to show you these is the Amberlic RG476H. This is one of my favorite handhelds right now. It's so my jam. And I had a great time playing these games on this thing to record this video, and this was sent to me by Lit NXT, so I figured I should probably give them a shout out, and there's a link to this in the thingy below if you're interested in picking one of these up. I also have a review video of this thing, so you can watch that if you want to know more about it. Let's begin with a game that I loved so much that I nagged my Gameboy game developer friend to make me a TechDweeb version. Burger Time Deluxe, or Burger Time Dweeb-Lux for the modded version. Link below. This is 100% one of those games that I go back to all the freaking time. Like endlessly. If I'm testing a device or even if I'm just killing some time, I'm always up for firing up Burger Time. I'm not even good at the game. I don't play it because I feel like a badass at it. It's more like just the familiar vibes I get while playing it. I bought a used cartridge of this back when I had a Game Boy Advance, way back in the day. And when I got into emulation for the first time, this is one of the first games that I installed and got hooked on. I've been getting sucked into Burger Time for years at this point, and it's just a fun, silly game. It's not deep or complex. You just walk on the parts of the burger to make the burger. It's a basic puzzle action game, but it just never gets old to me. It's the kind of game I can start up for a few minutes or tons of minutes. This game is like comfort food for my brain, just as much as burgers are comfort food for my mouth, as long as they have pickles. Pickles are not optional. There are few genres more satisfying for quick pick-up-and-play kind of mindless gaming as good old beat-them-up games. There are tons of amazing arcade beat-them-ups, some great ones on the Super Nintendo too, but Streets of Rage 2 on the Sega Genesis is so freaking good that it's almost a shame that it was trapped on the Genesis. I never had a Genesis. I didn't play this back in the day, but later in life when I got into retro gaming, the legacy of Streets of Rage 2 reached me, so I gave it a try and oh man, this game is packed with style. It's this sort of like dystopian rain-soaked city lit with neon lights and colorful gangs of thugs ripe for a beating. The music is absolutely iconic. Seriously, this track behind level 1 might be one of the most iconic pieces of retro chiptunes known to man. The art is great, as you can see. I love the backgrounds, the color, and the detail, but it's the satisfying action that keeps me coming back. Few games nailed the beat-them-up gameplay like Streets of Rage 2. For some reason, 2 is the best one. 1 is fine, and 3 is fine, but Streets of Rage 2 stands out like way above the rest. This is another one that I have a hard time skipping past when I'm browsing my games. I'm always up for a bit of street raging. Dragon Warrior on the NES is pure comfort food for my dweeby soul. I always have a playthrough of Dragon Warrior on the go, and I never get tired of playing it. And I think I probably love this game more than it deserves. Considering how much I play it, you'd think that it was literally made of gold like the gold man in the game. But no, it's just a good game. Nothing too revolutionary or anything, but I don't care. It's a huge part of my nostalgia for the NES. I played this one back in the day on my uncle's Nintendo when I stayed over at his place in the summertime, and I didn't understand it at the time. The game I didn't know what a role-playing game was, but I tried to play it anyways. And then later in life, when I was actually good at games, I came back to this and I beat it, and then I immediately started a second playthrough, and I haven't stopped since. There's something so special about the art style, the flow of the game, both the minute-to-minute gameplay and also the overarching game world. And the music, oh man, the overworld music is one of my happy place tunes. Even after all these years, it still gets me. I'm probably never going to stop playing this, to be honest. One of the reasons I fire it up so often is because it's easy to squeeze in either just a few quick minutes or a long play session. But it's special to me for lots of reasons. I should probably make a whole video about this game sometime. This is Blades of Vengeance on the Sega Genesis, and I had no idea this game existed before I got into emulation. I discovered this one just a couple years ago. It was in my big list of Genesis games, and I fired it up because I liked the look of the screenshot, and it quickly became one of my favorite games to play on the Genesis. I've done a complete playthrough. It's not super long, but I've played this first level probably 100 times because I fire this game up on almost everything that I test games on. It's this arcade-style action platformer game with a sword and sorcery vibe. You pick between a warrior and a wizard and a barbarian babe, and they each have slightly different sizes and athletic abilities and attacks. I like the barbarian babe for both mechanical and gooner reasons. The graphics are beautiful. This is exactly the kind of vibe I like for my retro fantasy games. Cobbled stones and rickety bridges and rivers of lava, eyeball monsters that I can smash with an axe. And one cool thing for replaying is that the game is packed with secrets. I'm still finding secrets that I never knew about. It's just a tight and beautiful game that never gets old, that also has a scantily clad barbarian babe. That's a recipe for a game that I can't help firing up every time I pass it in my games list. I love me a vertical shooter, and to me, and most fans of the genre, the 1940 whatever series of arcade games is legendary. These games have been around for ages, and there's 8 games in the series. All of them are great, but my favorite is 1944, The Loop Master. This is like the height of the classic arcade era for the series, and this game holds up so well today. The reason I keep coming back is that it just nails the arcade flow. Tight waves, satisfying weapon upgrades, big bosses. The loop move is a clean panic button that keeps the rhythm alive without feeling cheap, and the art is so dang good. The pixel work and the effects is Capcom doing what they do best. It's that late era arcade polish that you can feel in your eyeballs and ears. The soundtrack is great. The music gets intense right when it needs to, and the hit sounds have a super satisfying crunch. It delivers the retro shooter vibes I crave to me every time I fire it up, and I'm always up for those vibes. Great for 2 players too. Also, it has the added benefit of being a vertically scrolling shoot 'em up with a horizontal aspect ratio. And when you're testing retro handhelds, and I've been known to do that from time to time, I appreciate not having to rotate the device and fiddle with the settings and controls just to try a shooter game for a few minutes. I know the whole Genesis Aladdin versus Super Nintendo Aladdin debate has been raging since the dawn of time. Many schoolyard friendships have been ripped apart because of that conflict, and even now, in 2025, the debate rages on. I'm gonna prove it, because you know what? I think that the Super Nintendo Aladdin is way better than the Genesis one. If you disagree, feel free to say so and show the world how wrong you are in the comments below. I'll admit that Genesis Aladdin is good. It looks good, it's got nice animation, but the Super Nintendo Aladdin is one of my favorite retro games ever. This is Capcom pixel art 16-bit platforming perfection at its peak. They completely nailed the setting and the story, and the gameplay is just so tight and satisfying. The world is packed with stuff. Not just the backgrounds, but the levels are full of like little things to find, areas you don't know about unless you explore. The platforming is so tight that I instantly click with it. I love being Aladdin in this world. I click with the gameplay instantly, and I have fun running and jumping around as this crazy Aladdin guy in this Arabian playground, throwing apples and stuff. Also, why did they think that giving Aladdin a sword on the Genesis version made any sense at all? Aladdin never had a sword. Come on, that's just wrong. like you, if you like the Genesis version. Of course, we had to have a Game Boy Advance game on this list. That's my favorite system to emulate. And what better game to highlight as a game I keep coming back to than a game with endless replayability? Advance Wars 2 on the Game Boy Advance is a turn-based military strategy game with tight, interesting, deep, and fair mechanics, units that give you a simple rock, paper, scissors strategic flow, and great art and sound. It's the whole package in terms of gameplay and presentation, but what really makes this game worth returning to over and over again is the scope of the game. Not only do you have a massive, interesting, and deep story full of colorful characters with interesting scenarios that keep changing things up, but you also get this skirmish mode called War Room that lets you create an endless amount of custom scenarios to play. And there's a freaking map editor. Oh man, I've spent so much freaking time making maps in this editor and playing these fun scenarios that I'd come up with. It's one of those games with endless fun, like a make your own fun kind of thing, and those kinds of games will always be worth returning to. Those who know me well know two things about me. One, I reward myself with pickles when I've done my chores, but sometimes I sneak a pickle halfway through the chore just as a little extra motivation. And two, I love me some pinball. It's literally impossible for me to pass a pinball table and not play. I'm just fascinated by pinball tables. They're these interesting objects that combine physics and engineering and art in a package that's made to entertain and delight you. Pinball tables are sort of relics from a bygone age. You don't really see them that often. If you do, it's more of an oddity than anything. But pinball is alive and well in video game form, and one of the best pinball video games is Devil's Crush on the TurboGrafx-16. This game is a pioneer of video game pinball. It takes the simple core gameplay of pinball and mixes it up by adding stuff onto the board. Little monsters roving around for you to smash to pieces, cool little interactive set pieces, and the table changes as you play. And there's boss fights. Pinball itself, any pinball, is fun to pick up and play for a quick session, but Devil's Crush pinball adds in so much more icing on the cake. Probably a devil's food cake, because of the devil stuff, I mean. Racing games are the kinds of games that never get old. I believe that any racing game that is competent and fun when it was released will still be fun today, because driving cars really fast without any danger of actually dying is always fun. That'll always be fun. There are tons of great racing games to scratch that driving itch, but the pick up and play ones for me tend to be the arcadey style racing games. And my all-time favorite arcade style racer from the retro era is Cruisin Exotica. Cruisin USA was good but kind of primitive. Cruisin World improved on it, but Cruisin Exotica is easily the best in the series because it had several games before it to perfect the formula, and I just like the setting. I like the exotic locations. This game is so bright and colorful, and the backgrounds are just packed with stuff to see. Not that you'll have time to do sightseeing, because this game is crazy. You're flying down the road at breakneck speed, smashing through cars and walls and whatever else. There's almost no punishment for driving like a moron, which is good for morons like me. Arcade racers in general are made to squeeze in the most amount of fun per minute so that you'll keep shoving quarters into the machine. And the N64 port of Cruisin Exotica captures the fun of the arcade version perfectly. This is another game that I fire up on almost every device, and I'll probably keep doing that forever. And last but not least, best. This is like the game that I replay probably more than any other game ever. It's Heroes of Might and Magic 2. We played this on the Dusty Game Society a few months ago, and I even made a whole ass video about it. Check that out if you want the grand tour. This game is legendary in my life. Back in high school, we used to have weekend-long Heroes of Might and Magic 2 parties, playing hot seat style. That's what me and my friends did instead of socializing and hanging out with girls. This game is a mix of genres. It's half role-playing game, half strategy game, and half kingdom management game. You'll be building up your settlement with upgrades, building up your armies, and recruiting heroes to venture forth with your troops to explore the world, band your empire, and get in lots of turn-based strategical fights that play like fantasy chess. And this is another one of those games that has endless replayability. There are 2 wonderful lengthy campaigns, but the custom scenarios can be built and tailored to whatever kind of situation you want. I've played this game probably more than any other game on this list. Endless hours. And I still fire it up all the time, and I have a hard time turning it off once I start. I'll probably be organizing Heroes of Might and Magic 2 games at the retirement home when I'm an old man. I mean, an old brain in a jar. Oh man, I can't wait to be a brain in a jar. Brains are so weird. And that's it. That's my big list of the top 10 games that I'm always firing up. And I can basically guarantee that no matter what other new games come along, I'm still going to be playing the games I told you about today. Because they've stood the test of time so far, and I'm still playing them. I can't see myself getting tired of them. Kind of like how I'll never get tired of Mom Shepheard's pie. Oh, speaking of which, Mom, if you're watching this, can we have shepherd's pie for dinner tonight? That'd be pretty great. But now it's your turn. Let's hear your top 10 games that you keep going back to list. I'm genuinely really curious what kind of games I'm going to see in the comments. And I better not see the Sega Genesis Aladdin down there more than the Super Nintendo version. I ban people for less than that, so behave yourself. And that'll do it for me for today. I'm TechDweeb, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.